Hello, coaches! Welcome back to another episode of Coach Better. Today I'm chatting with two of our amazing participants in the second cohort of our The Coach microcredential, Jana Polka and Nadia Ellis. Jana is currently a technology coach in Germany, and Nadia is a grade 3 classroom teacher and team leader in Vietnam. Jana and Nadia are both new to coaching and describe their professional growth process for learning about how to become an outstanding learning coach. For those of you new to coaching, this conversation highlights the many different elements which are critical for the success of developing your coaching skills. And you'll get an inside look at our The Coach microcredential to see if it's right for you.
If you're new here, welcome. My name is Clint Hamada.
And my name is Kim Cafino, and we're your hosts for this series. Between the two of us, we have almost 40 years of coaching experience in schools around the world, and we want to help you coach better.
So whether you're already a coach or you're just getting started, we're passionate about helping you take that next step in your coaching journey by sharing thoughtful, professional conversations about coaching and learning with experts from around the world.
And you might notice that Clint and I are never in the same room. That's because I live in Bangkok and Clint lives in Beijing. But we are so excited to get together every week to share and discuss how we can all coach better together.
If you enjoy any part of this episode, please make sure you give it the old thumbs up. It really does help us to know what you want to hear more about. Also, subscribe to the channel so you can see all of the coaching videos and click on the notifications bell so you know as soon as each video gets posted.
Please make sure to watch all the way to the end. We've got some great opportunities for your professional learning that we think you'll love. Let's get started. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Coach Better. Today I'm here with Nadia and Jana, two participants in our The Coach microcredential from Eduro Learning. Nadia, can you please introduce yourself to our listeners?
Yes. Hi, my name is Nadia Ellis. I'm an elementary educator overseas. This is my 6th year as an educator, specifically in the elementary realm. Previously, I've taught in Kentucky, Korea, Afghanistan, and currently in Vietnam. I think something that sets me apart is that I am a third culture kid, so I actually grew up attending international schools, so I bring that fun perspective as an educator.
Awesome, thank you. And Jana, can you please introduce yourself and your education-related background?
Yes. Hello, my name is Jana Polka, and I've been an international educator for about 11 years. I spent the most of my time in Tokyo, Japan, and this is my first 2 years in Germany. So moving from the elementary classroom into the role of like an IT integration coach.
And we're together because both of you are learning about becoming an instructional coach in various different capacities. Jana is learning about becoming an instructional coach in terms of the technology side of things, and Nadia is looking at it through a leadership lens. And so we've been working together for, I would say, almost 6 months now, which has been awesome. And I would love to kind of talk to you guys a little bit about your experience as coaches, perhaps a little bit new to the role, and your own professional goals and growth, and kind of get a little bit of insight into how things are going for you as coaches. So I'm going to ask you first both to share a little bit about your role in your school. What does it look like? What does it mean to you as a coach in your particular kind of domain? And I'm going to this time pick on Jana first because she went second last time. So yeah, go ahead.
Sure. So let's see. I moved from Tokyo to Germany last year, and I moved from the role of classroom teacher to an IT teacher. So I had a really exciting opportunity thrust upon me because the school that I went to still had a computer lab. And so that was pretty wild for me. And from the beginning part of last year, I was like, what do I do with this? Like, is this, I just questioned, like, why does school still have this model? Do we want to have this model still? What would make a better model? Sorry, my lights will go out automatically. And so I spent the first half of the year sort of thinking about this. And I heard more and more about the Coach microcredential online, and I knew that I wanted to have some, like, learn a bit more, because I knew I wanted to change the program into something more modern and more authentic, and something that really enriched the program here. Did I answer
Awesome.
your question?
Yeah, no, that does answer my question. And when I know that you are in the process kind of changing your role at your school right now.
Yeah.
What is your kind of ideal version of your role, and maybe a very short kind of background on how you're moving towards that ideal role?
Yeah. So my ideal goal is to get technology integrated into what is going on in the classroom. Instead of it being another subject for the children to learn about, I want technology to be a tool in the hands of the teachers and the learners, and I want it to be in the classroom as they are learning in an authentic way. And then you asked also, what is the process here? So the first half of last year, again, I was just going through the motions, and I had my weekly classes, and I got to know and built the relationships with the staff and the students and the community. And then I started sort of pushing my boundaries and said, oh, let's have class in your classroom. Let's see how this works. Oh, I'm free this time. Maybe we can have an additional class. I kind of warmed up. I warmed up some of the teachers, and some of the teachers really caught on, and they were like, oh my God, I never thought IT could be like this. Some said, and they were just really enthusiastic and excited about that. Then just through conversations with the leadership here, started to get the ball rolling into something a little bit more modern. So I'm sitting in what was the computer lab, and you can see that there's no computers in here. And I was able to convince the leadership to invest in some new technology and upgrade sort of the system. And then also, one of the big players in moving to a more integrated system was getting rid of my schedule and having a total free open schedule that teachers can book me when it works for them and their learning. So I attend weekly meetings, weekly planning meetings with every grade level, and that gives some structure and also opens the door for integrating into different classrooms in this way that no grade level sort of gets left behind. And that will just continue to evolve as everybody here gets used to the model.
Awesome. Fabulous. Thank you so much. And Nadia, I know that you're coming at this from a slightly different angle. So can you tell us about your role in your school? What does it look like? What does it mean to you? Are you evolving things at all? And how does that work for you?
Sure. So I'm in a different perspective. I'm approaching this from a homeroom teacher perspective as a grade 3 teacher. But my role is split because I am a team leader. So I'm responsible for leading a team, or coaching a team, rather, should I say, of 5 homeroom grade 3 teachers, 2 EAL, so English as an additional language teachers, and then 1 Vietnamese TA as a teaching assistant, not a teacher's assistant. So that's our core team that I help facilitate and guide through a coaching lens. So I'm approaching this role, I guess you've kind of talked about process and purpose. The purpose is, I've written some notes because it's quite lengthy. Purpose initially started with transitioning the team to a backwards design approach and utilizing technology through an integrated manner, and transitioning to inclusive language practice, so utilizing translanguaging, because our school context is majority second or third language learners. In fact, 19 out of my 20 students are currently. But then that kind of shifted to planning for implementation of the PYP program. So this is our first year of candidacy and implementation of that program. So as a team leader, transitioning the team to understand that that's a liberating framework for us, and it helps us shift from what we've always done or what we do to what we could do on the horizon. But I think my biggest role or piece of process that I hope to push is from a planning standpoint. So as a peer, so that peer coaching model of modeling planning in response to learning versus planning for learning. So that, I know that's a lot, but in a nutshell, that's kind of how the leadership side with the coaching and the homeroom all kind of fit together.
And I think you're not alone in having that dual role. So I think it's really good to hear not only what your kind of original intent was in this role, but how it's transitioning as your school is changing, and maybe being able to identify what those priorities then become, because we're all kind of at the mercy of, the way things move in our different schools. So I think that having that balance between being a classroom teacher and a peer leader is one that many teachers have to struggle with. And I think it's a very authentic challenge that teachers have. Because both of you are kind of generally speaking new to coaching, and I know not 100% new, but generally new, how do you learn about coaching? How do you learn about improving your craft? Like, what is your process at this moment in time? And I will start with Nadia.
Okay, I'm just going to reach in my bag.
Actually, I'll start with Jana.
No, it's okay. Okay. I have the answer. It's like,
oh, look at this.
This is my guidebook right here. So this is what saved me for the first 2 years when I did not know about Eduro or any of the coaching programs that were available to me before I entered this program. This was what's where I got everything. I'm going to try to frame this in a positive way. I feel that team leaders in general, at whatever level, and coaches in general, we struggle with receiving the support and professional development or leadership support that we need to be successful coming into the role as a newbie. I can't say that for all schools, but that has been my experience. And so I had to personally go out and seek ways. And I literally Googled how to coach a team. And then this book came up. And I didn't even hesitate, bought it, and it has been everything for me. And I have even gifted it to colleagues who are also in the same position. So this is where I started, and now I'm here. And I'm just going to pull a plug out there and say I'm so thankful for this program.
Thank you, Nadia. It's good to hear. I think your point about coaches struggling with the support of their leaders when they're coming into school as new coaches is so important and so relevant, because there's this challenging issue with either being a kind of middle leader like what you are, and also being a coach, where there's like, if you got the job, there's kind of an assumption that you already know exactly what you're doing and you don't really need any help. But actually almost every coach I've ever talked to, myself included, is that kind of growth-minded person and always wants more, wants to learn more. Like, that's why we're in this role. So assuming that we're just going to like jump in and like do everything right within the first moment is a lot of pressure, right? So I think this idea of understanding how important it is to support the growth of your coaches or your learning leaders is a really, really valuable idea to bring to all of our schools, because I think this is an issue in many schools. Jana, how about you? How do you learn as a new coach?
Actually, I'm going to link to what you and Nadia were just talking about right now. It just highlights how Nadia and I are sort of same, different. I came into this role to fill the shoes of being an ICT teacher, not to be a coach. So my progression towards this role of a coach, it really stems from the strategic sort of planning that I started last year. I think the reason why I sort of started stepping into the role of a coach here is because of the support I got from the administration here. When I interviewed, I remember them being very interested in how I coached colleagues in my last school. and I would say like coaching, or now I would say after I've learned, I would say consulting or a different hat inside the coaching sphere. But they were very interested in that, and I've had nothing but support for my vision of how to change this program. But with that said, of the things that I would like, or the things that I had wanted is more guidance, because coming into this, I really didn't know what that looked like or what that should have looked like. And so being a past co-tailer, I leaned on the PLN that I had developed back in, 2014. And I went out there trying to see, okay, what's going on now. And okay, if I'm an ICT teacher at the time, then what do I need to be teaching? Because I had taught with integrated technology in grade 3 and helped with grade 4 and grade 5 in my last school. But I was like now dealing with 5-year-olds, and I just, what can I teach them? So I leaned on that community. And the more I leaned on that community and looked at what that community was doing, I learned more and more about what my role should be, and that I should be going with the coach. And so when the coach came open last year, I really thought this is what I need to do to learn what I need to do to be in this role. Like, I knew learning was going to be my guide to making this successful. So I have to say, everything, like, the coach has been my key source of learning so far.
Yay! I'm so glad to hear it. Okay, so it sounds like both of you had like kind of two slightly different avenues. One was more text driven and the other was more PLN driven, but both of you had I don't want to call it introductory, but like a solid base of where you were ready to kind of take a next step, and that's how you came upon the coach and you were like, okay, this is my next step for me. Before we dive a little deeper into that, I'm curious about what is challenging for you in your roles in your current school. Like, what are you actually struggling with? And I will start with Jana, just for fun.
Okay, just for fun. Oh, let's see. I struggle with, I guess the thing that I'm struggling with is getting a common vision of what this new modern approach to learning looks like and how it fits into the school. And so, yeah, that would be my biggest role there. And then how I combat that is just building a lot of relationships. And the stronger relationships I build, the more the trust they have in me, and the more they're willing to say, yeah, let's try this.
I think you are not alone in the struggle of building that shared vision. I think particularly in schools where maybe there hasn't been a lot of development in your case, technology, it's a really big shift. Like I have worked in many schools where we have made the shift from a computer lab to an integrated model to a coaching model, and it is never easy. So, and I'm certain, 100% certain, that your school isn't the last school to do that. Like there are plenty more on the way that are going to go through that shift. So I think learning the skills, in your case, very specifically about shifting, mindset, vision, approach to the way we teach and learn with technology, that's one very specific subject area, discrete kind of subject area that you're talking about. But actually all of those skills that go around it, like the relationship building and the trust building, those are critical elements of successful change in schools, no matter what the topic. So while right now you're focusing on the technology piece of things, you're learning so many important skills, because what else is there in life but change? And you're going to know how to do that kind of change management and build that trust and build those relationships so people understand that you can be a person to support them through that change. So I know we talked about it as a struggle, but actually I think it's going to end up being really a valuable learning process for you.
I think it already has proven to be a valuable learning process.
Excellent.
Most definitely. Most definitely. So.
Awesome. Nadia, how about you? What are you struggling with in your role right now?
So I'm going to answer this with what I thought it would have been. I thought initially stepping into this role, it's been a 3-year process, my 3rd year in this current role. I thought it would be creating or cultivating a culture of buy-in on the team for the why are we shifting, why is it moving? But that actually was not it at all. So we shifted from textbook oriented to standards-based thematic units. Now we're moving into the PYP. And I thought that would be it. But to be honest, the thing I'm struggling with most is time. Just in this middle leadership role, that like my priorities are my learners. But recently I've thought about it. My learners aren't just my students. They're also my team members. So that has kind of challenged me a lot, shifting that vocabulary, because yes, my students come first as learners, but so do my colleagues and my co-teachers as well. And so that's been hard. Physical time and space just gets taken up with meetings. We get pushed out of our classroom for language, for mother tongue language. So physically being out of the classroom and roaming around, not being in my workspace, that has contributed a lot. Jumping through hoops. Time is one of the biggest challenges I'm currently facing. Another challenge is navigating the hierarchical structure of the school culture, because it's shifting. My school in general, that has been difficult. I think back to the triangle PLN or PLC model, where the teacher's at the core and you've got those rotating pieces at the side. I feel like that's more of a ladder. And so navigating that has been very difficult, approaching this through a lens of coaching. And so time and those two have been the most challenging.
Those are very interesting, and also I think ones that the time I think will follow you everywhere as I'm thinking about it, right? Because there's a kind of, that one's a tough one, but the hierarchical struggles is going to be interesting to see how. We've been talking about this a lot, and I know I'm drawing on our previous conversation, which our current listeners may not be able to tap into, but being able to draw on those challenges that you have had in this school with the hierarchical struggle is going to serve you so well as you continue to grow as a leader, because you have all of these, I forget what you phrased it in a really nice way in a previous conversation, but you have all these like ambitions for how you can do things in a way that you know you would like them to be done, as opposed to potentially, ways that you might have experienced them in the past. So that like ambitious being the best leader you can be, you're almost getting a little checklist right now. So similar to Jana, I feel like there's a positive that will come out of that too. Thinking about, I know both of you are so reflective and always trying to be the best teacher, the best learner, the best colleague that you can be. What do you see as your areas for growth, and how do you identify those? And I will start with you, Nadia.
Ooh, that's easy. Listening. Currently in my goal setting, I anticipated that listening would be the easiest to identify and check off and have my indicators, but it's time and time again proving to be one I have to constantly come back to and remember to hold my tongue, listen to understand and not to respond. That I struggle with it in many aspects, not just my professional realm. And it's something that I'm assuming I will always struggle with, but it's just that grounding of coming back to quiet that inner dialogue, visibly show the person that you're listening, because I found out recently that I physically have mannerisms that show that I'm not listening in my head, of like leaning in closer or like bouncing up and down or fiddling with my fingers, that shows that I'm itching to get a word in because I have an idea. And a colleague pointed that out and I went, oh, got to go back to listening again. So that I'm going to go with that one, since that one's the biggest one right now.
The way that you're describing that is really interesting too, because it's like your listening skills need to be in your conscious brain now until you get to the point where they're unconscious and you don't need to think about them. So I love that your colleague told you that you fidget and you do all these various things that are like your tells when you're gambling that you're not listening anymore. But I think that that idea of focusing in on something so specific like listening and keeping that in your conscious brain, or your, right in the forefront of what you're thinking about, that's a very concrete area for growth that you can work on like every single day. And it's nice to be able to almost see what you can put into your unconscious habits by progressively working towards being a focused listener, a supreme listener, as Ben would say on our Coach Better podcasts.
All right.
And what about you, Jana? What are your areas for growth and how do you identify those?
Yeah, I think listening is a great one, Nadia. So if I'm going to piggyback off of that, I would also say questioning. So, and this could go back to relationships as well. But I after studying with a coach and whatnot, we learned very early on that it's really good to, listen and question rather than share our own opinions. Oh, this is how you can do it. This is wonderful. But to get the our learners, our teachers as learners, to put their own ideas out there and build their own ideas, and that's a much richer learning experience for them. And so I've been trying to do this questioning, but sometimes, especially where the relationships are not as strong as they were, maybe it's the new staff that came in this year. When I've questioned, I've noticed some responses from those colleagues being kind of defensive a couple of times, and I just thought to myself, oh, did I sound like I was questioning their practice? I meant to just add a question to the pot and have us all thinking. And I often think from the devil's advocate point of view, because I myself am very reflective, and so my questioning technique, I would say that's an area I would really like to grow. But I think by growing that, it's just building those relationships. Because even somebody that I had questioned earlier and felt like she got defensive has now been like, oh, Jana, maybe we can do this project this Thursday. I had this idea, and she reached out. So, I mean, she herself had said that, like, we're getting to know each other even more, and that's helping build that trust. And it was so cool to hear that from another colleague. And then if I was adding a second area of growth, and this is an area of growth in my whole life all the time, is balance. Although I know work and my personal life can't be completely balanced, but I want to find a happy medium to both of those. So it's balancing my time and balancing my energy of how much am I focusing on work, because I tend to focus on work quite a bit, and I want to shift that a little bit more for a healthier mind. And
I love how both of your responses about listening and questioning, the two of you, not your two things, Jana, they connect so well to basically the whole purpose of this program, which is understanding that coaching practice. And you can't really ask great questions unless you're really listening. And so I think those concrete skills are so valuable in this whole domain of being a coach. And I'm curious, from your point of view, how has this, the Coach microcredential, supported you in your own learning? Jana, maybe particularly for questioning or balance, and Nadia, for you, maybe in your listening practice. So I'll start with Jana. How has the program supported your learning?
The program has supported my learning in a couple of different ways. So as you go through these middle leadership positions, excuse me, you tend to have less and less colleagues at your same level that you can reach out to, and that you can really talk to. As a teacher, there's a lot more teachers in school than there are coaches, and then as there are principals and whatnot. So at my school, I didn't have a colleague to reach out to and to question. I know, like, your first idea is not always your best idea, and you need that sounding board to talk to, and you need that sounding board when you make a oopsies. You need that sounding board to go, okay, how do I solve this? I'm thinking that first. And so joining the coach, not only like the rich learning that I'm already participating in, and the rich learning that I'm already having through the reading and the reflection activities and everything there, I have this partnership, I feel, with Kim and Nadia, I feel like I can come to you guys with, the problem of the day or the success of the day, and we can really collaborate and talk together. I feel like I have colleagues outside of the walls of my school, which is so, so helpful. I cannot put it in any other words. That has been like my saving grace to the transition. I think without the coach, I would not have been able to develop in this way. Love it. So.
Yay, that is so awesome to hear. Thank you so much. And I have a feeling Nadia is going to say some similar things, so I will just let her say them.
So for me, this program has basically curated the resources and set the framework and structure in place for me to reflect. As you were saying, Kim, in general, the type of individuals that are attracted to this sort of work and purpose have that innate desire and intrinsic motivation. And so it's not about ticking the compliance box or having a class or a forum to respond to or any of that. Side note, I shy away from that. I actually do not do well with those things. But having that structure laid out for me that I don't have to think through and create has been one of the top pieces for me. But the most influential piece where I have felt supported was exactly what Jana was saying. And I know that we joked last time, Kim, about you didn't realize that you might have been a therapist, a coaching therapist, but you really are. And that mentorship piece between you and I, and also collaboratively with Jana as well, is the connection piece that I think I was missing. Having, like Jana was saying, someone outside of your environment who doesn't bring that bias of the school culture to actually just have a raw sounding board off of it's you can't put a price on it.
Yeah.
This is I'm so excited to hear you guys saying all these things, and I'm trying to write them down too for some show notes. And I think it's so wonderful to hear that this is exactly what we intended, like that almost shortcut to all the best resources, that framework or structure for you to kind of process all that thinking and apply it and make it something that you can actually take away and do. And then this communication, this community, this team, this cohort, this feeling like you have that support structure, because so many times people who are in a coaching position, whether it's related to leadership or related to technology or related to another instructional area, you're the only one. Maybe there's another person, but they're in a different division of the school, and that building is 10 minutes away and you see them once a week. It's just not that same kind of connected feeling that I hope that we're bringing in. And from what you guys are saying, it sounds like we are. So thank you so much for that. I think you've both already kind of answered the question, what's the biggest value of the program for you so far? Is there anything else you wanted to say about that? You feel like you've answered it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the relationships we've built this year, just invaluable.
Love it.
The other thing is, like, I really like the structure of the different modules inside the coach, like, and the flow of them and how they go together, but they could be in different orders, but they really hit all of the different subjects you would need to be a well-balanced coach, from developing your PLN to figuring out what is coaching, but then also like instructional practices for today and parent communities and administration and leadership, and like all of that is a lot of different facets that I hadn't thought about before, and I just think they're really well balanced.
Yay! What you guys mentioned this a little bit before, that you had previous background. Nadia, you mentioned the art of coaching teams, and Jana, you mentioned Coattail and your PLN. What made you guys, in that moment when you decided that whatever that thing was, like your jumping point, what made you look for this program? What made you want to level up? Sorry, Jana, go ahead.
Okay, I really liked the idea of having the mentorship and working with you, Kim. I got to work with you in Coattail and at YIS. And that was a fantastic learning experience. I finished the master's degree through that program at the time, and the best part of my learning in my master's degree was Coattail, hands down. So the opportunity to the opportunity that this existed for me to continue that learning on was really the spark. And then also the need to have another colleague, because I was in a role. I knew it needed to change. I knew I needed to change that model, but I knew I didn't have necessarily the expertise to take it that far. And, but I definitely had the drive. So I'd like to be able to learn more about the coach and help me reflect about my practice has helped me kind of drive the program forward.
Amazing.
Mine was having, I feel like everything that's in this book, I could go a few years off of dealing with this, but it just, that next thing piece, the next level piece for me was, I think it's Dr. Comer that says, no significant learning occurs without a relationship. So this is great for learning. And yes, I learned a lot, but the significance piece and the connectedness, that was what I was missing and craving. And I had no idea where to find it. I didn't know that it existed until one day it popped up. So I actually didn't go searching for it. It popped up and it was literally 2 minutes. Get my credit card out. I'm doing this. We'll see how it goes. You cannot put a price on on purpose and connectedness and relationships. And so it sounds kind of weird putting out money for something like that. But that was the piece for me. I recognized I didn't have the relationship piece. And so that quote, I think it's Dr. Comer, I'm not sure, but that quote is personified by my experience. And I believe it. It is so true.
That is so wonderful to hear. And the next question we were going to ask you is, what's different about this PD compared to other PD? And I think you've already kind of answered that question. It's that relationship piece. But if either of you want to say any more on that, I will give you the floor to talk.
Yes, I have lots to say about this.
Okay.
So PD in general is this, or in my experience, from what I've experienced, I know it's not like this everywhere. It has been for me very cookie cutter, one size fits all. Here, this is the workshop. You're going to go through the workshop. It's going to be the same no matter what school we go to run this workshop. This is personalized. It's personalized through time. It's personalized through what you're putting into it. It's personalized through avenues. I'm personally not going through this for credit or as a part of furthering my official education mandates. Like, it's all flexible. And even, I know, Kim, we were talking about the possibility of extending this and working on personalized mentorship outside of this framework. It truly is personalized. And that piece, to me, I've kind of had this, I don't want to say apprehension, but critical awareness of the term personalized learning with regards to education in general. Then when you put it with teachers or teacher development or educator development, I'm even more hesitant, because people say, oh, personalized PD. This is the first personalized professional learning community program, anything I've ever experienced. And I hope, and I am rallying this cry that more organizations will follow this model, because this is what we want, this is what we need, and it works, and it's working, and it can always be improved. So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah. And if I was to say, like, I'd just say again, like, why the model of Coattail, which is similar to this model, but not exactly the same, worked better than, the classes at the university. It would be because it was personalized, and it was like, we had relationships that we built in the cohort, like, just like we are now. And that's really what and why I think makes this such a valuable professional development opportunity. Also going through it over a period of time, and not just like the one weekend or the 1 hour structure, but having it go through a period of time so we can see that period of growth together. And we're reading and we're reflecting as we go along, and that just brings us further and further. It's very it's well structured, but then also free for us to learn what we need to learn for ourselves. It's very personal. So I agree with Nadia.
God, you guys are amazing. Okay, one last question for you. What would you say to someone who is considering the coach?
Do it.
Yeah. I think that's written.
I didn't say the just though.
Oh, you didn't? Okay, do it. Okay.
Do it. Yeah,
all right. Okay.
A little bit gray area, I know.
I think I would frame it as a challenge. Tell me something or prove me wrong or something like that. Prove me wrong that this is not for you. Maybe would be my thing, because then that would instigate some curiosity into the program.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you guys so much for sharing all of that wonderful feedback. And I am so happy to hear that the combination of the structure and the cohort and the mentorship is all coming together in that really personalized learning experience for both of you, because that I'm like you, Nadia. Like, I don't know why more professional development programs aren't like this.
Yeah.
But because I like made this one, and I was also a founder of Coattail, like, this is what I think PD should be. So it's so good to hear that it's also what you think it should be and what you want and what you need, and that you're getting so much value out of it. So thank you both, Nadia and Jana, for sharing your thoughts on being a coach, being a new coach, and then what this program has brought for you. I really appreciate your time today.
Thanks.
Thanks, Kim.
Thank you so much for joining us today. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and click the notification bell so you'll know when we release a new video each week. Here at Eduro Learning, we want to help you coach better. To get you started, we've got some great resources to share with you right now. The first is a free digital download called 5 Strategies for Your Coaching Toolkit, and it's linked in the description box below. Plus, you can join our Facebook group, Coach Better, to connect with other instructional coaches around the world. The link is also in the description box below. If you're looking for even more learning, we are just about to start our next cohort of the Coach Microcredential. This academic year-long mentorship program includes 26 weeks of course content, a supportive network of like-minded participants who are coaches, and your own private mentor. Cohort 3 starts on April 28, 2019, and registration opens on March 4th. If you are ready to sign up right away, we have some great early bird bonus offers starting on January 15th, and spaces are limited, so please check it out. Are you ready to coach better? Get a preview to what you'll learn and see what past participants have to say at eduralearning.com/coach. And finally, if you haven't caught it yet, our weekly Coach Better Slow Chat on Twitter will help you build your professional learning network, and it's facilitated by 3 of our awesome The Coach participants, so you can see the types of coaches that you'll be learning with. Check out the link in the description box below. We hope that all of these resources are useful for you, and we'd love to hear what you think about them. If you have questions about coaching or guests you'd like to see featured, please leave us a comment and we will do our best to make it happen. See you next time.